Mark Reyes moved through the executive floor the way he always did, slow, careful, invisible. The wheels of his cleaning cart squeaked softly against the polished marble, a sound swallowed by the chaos pouring out of the boardroom. Voices collided behind the glass walls, sharp and frantic, like waves crashing during a storm. Red warning lights pulsed on massive screens, reflecting in the chrome handle of Mark's mop. He paused near the doorway, pretending to straighten a trash liner, but his eyes were drawn to the data flooding the monitors. Error codes stacked on top of one another, repeating in tight loops. His grip tightened. That pattern wasn't random. It was familiar, too familiar. Mark's mind drifted, uninvited, to another life. A time when he wore pressed shirts instead of a janitor's uniform. When he sat at tables like this, explaining systems to people who listened. Back then, he had helped design infrastructures worth more than this entire building. Now, he cleaned them after hours. A sharp voice cut through his thoughts. "We're bleeding money every second." An executive shouted. Another snapped. The backup should have kicked in already. Mark swallowed. His first instinct was to stay quiet. Staying quiet kept jobs. Staying invisible paid rent and bought school shoes for Sophia. He thought of her sleeping with her math book open on her chest, trusting that her dad would figure everything out, like he always promised. He dragged the mop across the floor, eyes never leaving the screen. The system wasn't just failing, it was fighting itself. Two safeguards locked in a loop, choking the flow of data. A rookie mistake, or a rushed one. Mark exhaled slowly. He told himself it wasn't his problem anymore. He was just the janitor. But as another alarm sounded and a graph plunged downward, his chest tightened. Sometimes, the hardest mess to clean wasn't on the floor. It was the one no one else knew how to fix. The tension inside the boardroom thickened until it felt hard to breathe. Jackets lay discarded over chairs, ties loosened, coffee cups trembling in shaking hands. The CEO paced back and forth, rubbing his temples as the countdown clock glowed on the wall. 4:58, 4:57. "International partners are already calling," the CFO said, voice cracking. "If we don't restore transactions before the window closes, penalties alone could destroy us." Mark stood just inside the doorway, mop resting against his leg. He told himself to look at the floor, not the screens. But the error log refreshed again, spitting out the same recursive fault. His heart started to pound. He knew exactly where the loop was forming. He knew exactly how to break it. 5 minutes, 400 seconds, a lifetime, or nothing at all. The CEO slammed his palm against the table. "Every consultant we've paid millions is out of ideas." His voice dropped, raw with desperation. "Someone tell me what we missed." Mark's throat went dry. This was the moment people like him learned to stay silent. A janitor who spoke up didn't become a hero, he became a joke. He thought of the last time he trusted a company to value him. The layoffs, the promises, the fall. The clock hit 4:21. Before fear could stop him, Mark cleared his throat. The sound was small, almost lost in the noise, but it carried. Heads turned, eyes narrowed. "Sir," Mark said carefully, "it's not a hardware failure." A few executives exchanged looks. One scoffed. "And you know this how?" Mark met the CEO's eyes. "Because the backups are active, but they're deadlocked. Two nodes are trying to correct each other at the same time. It's a recursive lock." Silence crashed down harder than any shout. The CEO studied him, searching for sarcasm, for arrogance. He found neither, only certainty. "And your solution?" the CEO asked. Quietly, Mark swallowed. "Reroute through the legacy bridge. Kill the loop." 30 seconds. The clock ticked to 3:59. The CEO closed his eyes for a single breath. Then he nodded. "Give him the keyboard." The room seemed to hold its breath as Mark stepped forward. The chair at the main console still felt warm from the last executive who had abandoned it in frustration. Mark set his mop gently against the wall, as if even that deserved respect, then placed his hands on the keyboard. For a brief second, his fingers hovered, not from doubt, but from memory. The screens reflected in his eyes like old friends. The system layout unfolded in his mind exactly as it had years ago. The redundancies, the fail-safes, the shortcuts no one documented because everyone important already knew them. A few executives leaned in despite themselves, curiosity overpowering disbelief. "Timer's running," someone whispered. Mark typed. The sound cut through the silence. Sharp, confident keystrokes. He accessed the node controller without hesitation, bypassing menus that others didn't even know existed. Lines of code scrolled rapidly, white on black, precise and deliberate. "Wait. What did he just do?" the CTO murmured. Mark isolated the two fighting nodes, watching the feedback loop spike exactly where he expected. His jaw tightened. There it was. He issued the first command, rerouting live traffic through the dormant legacy bridge, a pathway considered obsolete, but still solid. A warning flashed. "Are you sure?" Mark didn't hesitate. He confirmed. The second command terminated the loop. Alarms shrieked for half a heartbeat, then died mid-note. The graphs froze. For a terrifying second, nothing happened at all. Then the screens refreshed. Red bars faded to yellow. Yellow shifted to green. Transaction counters surged upward, racing to catch up. One by one, regional systems came back online. Asia, Europe, North America, each marked stable. A collective gasp rippled through the room. That's impossible," someone breathed. Mark finished with a final keystroke, restoring safeguards and sealing the bridge. He leaned back slowly, shoulders sagging as the adrenaline drained away. "You'll want to reboot the audit trail in about an hour," he said quietly. "Just in case the timestamps drift." No one laughed this time. The countdown clock stopped at 3:12. $100 million. Saved by a man everyone had ignored. For several seconds, no one spoke. The boardroom that had been filled with shouting and panic now felt sacred, as if a single loud breath might shatter the moment. The green status lights glowed steadily on the screens, almost mocking the chaos that had ruled the room just moments before. The CEO stared at the monitors, then at the frozen countdown clock, and finally at Mark. Slowly, deliberately, he straightened his jacket. The movement drew every eye in the room. Instead of celebrating or demanding explanations, he reached up and unclipped his executive badge. The soft click echoed louder than any alarm had. He walked to the center of the table and placed the badge down. "I've been asking the wrong people the wrong questions," the CEO said at last. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority and humility. "And I nearly paid $100 million for that mistake." Murmurs rippled through the executives. The CFO opened his mouth, then closed it again. The CEO turned back to Mark. "What's your name?" "Mark Reyes," he replied, unsure if his knees were shaking or the floor was. "And how long have you worked here, Mark?" 8 months, he said. "Night shift." The CEO nodded slowly, as if each word settled something inside him. "What's your real background?" Mark hesitated. Old wounds stirred. Systems architecture. Distributed networks. Before life happened. The CEO studied him, then surprised everyone by smiling. Not a corporate smile, but a human one. "Life happens to the best of us." He pushed the badge across the table toward Mark. "Starting tomorrow, you're not cleaning our floors. You're protecting our future." Head of systems. Full authority. A stunned silence followed, then a chair scraped back as someone stood to clap. Another joined. Then the whole room rose. Mark didn't clap. He just thought of his daughter. "There's one more thing," the CEO added. "Your hours will match your family's needs. And your daughter's education. Consider it handled." Mark swallowed hard. "Thank you," he said, voice barely steady. The CEO nodded. "No," he replied softly. "Thank you, for speaking up when it mattered most."